Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Reviews. Today, I'm going to take a dump on Gale Guardian's Demon's Purge, or Demon Purge, I believe it is, on the Nintendo Switch. And truly, I hate to have to be in a position to do this because this game was developed by inti-creates, which I consider to be among the very best indie developers, or really, in fact, one of the best development teams, period, making games in the last, well, over a decade now, at least, and I would say that is true for probably a lot of you, if you're a fan of neo-retro games. And if you don't know, because I feel like people don't talk about these indie even though they've done some amazing work, people don't talk about a lot of today's indie developers in the same way that they used to talk about Konami and Capcom back in the NES days. And, you might think that's a high bar, but I feel like they should be, because they basically are. Companies like WayForward, .emu, inti-creates, Tribute Games, Playdead, definitely. I consider those to be some of the best game developers working today. And they're all indie, and they get respect within their small circles, but they don't have the name recognition, is what I'm saying. And what I'm also saying is I think they deserve the name recognition based on the quality of some of the work that they tend to produce. Getting back to the point, though, if you don't know, inti-creates is responsible for Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon, not Ritual of the Night, but the Curse of the Moon series, which is, in my opinion, it's better anyways. Curse of the Moon is where it's at. And they're also responsible for, as I understand it, they're responsible for Mega Man 9 and 10. Which, the fact that they were even handed that IP to work with really says a lot about their reputation, I guess. So yeah, this game is coming from a remarkable team, really just an incredible neo-retro developer. And the fact that I am now about to take a dump on this game of theirs does not bring me any pleasure at all. It's unfortunate, really, but here we go. Let me get a little more specific on what the problems are. It's just that inti-creates is capable of, I know what they're capable of. They're capable of delivering beautiful 2D pixel art experiences, just wonderful games. And by comparison to their earlier work, this game feels very, honestly, just low effort, and I definitely see the irony there. I'm running, quite honestly, a very crappy little YouTube channel / podcast. Like, I know this isn't the next Marvel's movie or anything like that. I know that this isn't, some of the great names that are on YouTube. This is just my rubbish little show. I get it. But my show is also free and unsponsored. So, whereas inti-creates and, the vast majority of game developers are asking for payment for what they deliver, and that's where we have to analyze, is it worth it? Now, yes, Gale Guardians does feel kind of lazy, kind of low effort. From another studio, I might not even be saying that, but from inti-creates, I have just come to expect great things, and they usually deliver. So, look, like I said, Gale Guardians isn't the worst game I've ever played, but it does feel thoroughly mediocre to me, which is a tough pill for me to swallow when you know what this team is capable of. I'd give it around a 4 or a 5 out of 10. The visuals, as you can see, they are decent. They're very decent. As you can see, they've gone for I would say sort of a 32-bit look, a la the Game Boy Advance. I do recall the audio as being decent, but kind of unremarkable, given the fact that I believe they got the composer from the Castlevania games. What's her name? Marichu. I apologize. The pronunciation is going to be awful, but Mirichu Yamane, something, whatever. Anyway, the Castlevania lady, even though they got her in for the score, I still feel that overall the audio is decent. I mean, it's passable. There's nothing horribly wrong with it, I guess, but it's kind of unremarkable and certainly nothing that rises to the level of, you know, a Mega Man game or a Curse of the Moon game. Certainly not a Castlevania game. Yeah, so what we're dealing with in this whole review is the fact that because inti-creates has such an outstanding reputation that when they release a game that's middle of the road, you know, it's not horribly offensive, but it's just not great. It looks like a pile of crap by comparison to their other work. So I think where this game truly fails, though, for me, is in the gameplay, the character design, the enemy design, especially, and the maybe the biggest one, the level design, which I would just describe as thoroughly bland. It's not that interesting to explore. The layouts in terms of what you're looking at in the background, you know, just so the visual design of the levels gets very it's not bad, but it's very repetitive and samey, you know, and the same thing goes for the layout of the areas that you navigate. They're often maze-like, but not maze-like in an interesting, challenging way, maze-like in a repetitive, tedious way, you know, even down to just the positioning of the platforms and how you navigate them. It's just really uninventive, really unimaginative, and again, I just expect better things from this team because I know they can deliver better things. So, and part of the issue as far as level design, level layout, is that Gale Guardians can't seem to decide if it wants to be more of a linear action game, you know, basically a classic Vania, or if it wants to be a Metroidvania in terms of its level layout and structure. And it's not necessarily, like, that is not necessarily a problem. The fact that they, you know, maybe they come up with a design that falls somewhere between those two subgenres, right? Like, it's kind of a classic side scroller, it's kind of a Metroidvania. That's been done in other games before to, you know, varying success. So that idea is not necessarily a problem, but it's because the balance that they find between the two. So that's not necessarily a problem because the balance they find between the two subgenres could be really interesting, right? Except it isn't at all. Basically, the concept has potential, but the execution fell very, very flat for me here. Also, the source material doesn't help. They attempted to make a real video game using the lore of a game called Galgun, which is like sort of borderline, it's kind of a hentai game, you know, and I can just, so like why they chose that property to be sort of the backbone or the story behind this Metroidvania game is beyond me. I mean, I can kind of see what the brainstorming session might have looked like. Probably something along the lines of, teehee, what if you had to run around Dracula's castle collecting panties? Teehee. I can see something like that being funny or novel to a middle school student for about 15 minutes. But as developers of some of the finest neo-retro games ever made, I'm not sure that middle school students represent their core audience. I would imagine not. You know what I mean? I imagine that the bulk of inti-creates fans of their work, their games, are probably, you know, a little bit older like myself, maybe 30s, 40s, people that remember the old school and have, you know, and enjoy it. Not to say that younger folks don't play neo-retro, but I'm just saying, are they the target audience? I don't think so. So why did they target this game towards what I can only imagine is middle school kids? I've spent about 10 hours on this game. That includes one playthrough to the end, plus subsequent sessions to try and find something exceptional about this game, and it simply isn't here for me. I mean, I've tried time and again to latch on to this game and to find something that I can be excited about. It's not here. Not for me anyways. You know, and Gale Guardians even features a 2-player simultaneous couch co-op option, which is very similar in some respects to the couch co-op in Curse of the Moon 2. However, that is, in my opinion, a much better game than this. Add a second player to a mediocre game, and now you just have 2 people instead of 1 who are not particularly entertained. Gale Guardians retails on the eShop for $25, which is entirely too much money in my opinion, though honestly, I wouldn't even catch this on sale for $5 because in this case, it's not an issue of money, but of time. There are so many better games in today's flooded game market. So there's that fact. And there's also the fact of, do you want to reward this lazy effort with success, or do you want inti-creates to look at themselves and say, hey, we've clearly made a misstep. Let's go back to our roots and make a freaking good game. Yeah, so it's more an issue of time than money, though. But what's worse, this game has hurt inti-creates' reputation a little, in my opinion, in that they're about to release a new game, which looks in some ways similar to this, so I will be taking a hard pass on that one. You know, I'll still be very excited if they decide to do another Curse of the Moon game, but this anime girl stuff is just not my bag at all. And just to be clear, if they want to put anime girls into an otherwise great game, I'm here for that. But I'm going to be wary of that presentation from now on coming from this developer. This just felt like Fisher-Price Castlevania to me. Definitely not the droids I'm looking for. Anyways, that about does it for this one. Thanks for watching. Please click like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you all next time, whenever that may be. Bye-bye.